Welcome, everybody.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ça va? Bien, merci. Et toi?
No idea.
Bien, bien, do, 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 do. Bien, bien, do, 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 do.
Is that another one for the list?
Yeah, there we are.
Music reference done.
is that
Done
how
and
I
that-
don't know
dusted.
what that one's called, though.
No, that's because it's
It was on the Muppets, wasn't it?
Oh,
but
yeah.
I believe they use that as the jingle for BN biscuits.
They did. Other biscuits are available.
Yeah, I don't think BN's available anymore. I think it's gone out of business.
Oh.
They were all right.
I've not seen BN's for ages.
Didn't they
What
have,
did
like,
BN even stand for? Their little
Uh,
faces on them, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember them.
Beer
They
is
were like
good.
square.
Good biscuits.
They were square with like chocolate cream in them and a face. So they had a face, so chocolate eyes and a chocolate mouth.
I might have to Google it.
They were all right. I mean, they were all right. I wouldn't go crazy.
Well, clearly,
Yeah.
no one go. If they went out of business, not enough people were going
No,
crazy.
than
For them.
anybody else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So, welcome everybody. Today, Catherine is introducing us to our third Trailblazer for this series, and we're covering the. I can't help but think of him as quite tragic. His life quite tragic.
Yeah.
Alan Turing,
Yeah.
incredible mind, a gentle soul. I would suggest he was wronged in the worst possible way during his lifetime, after being pivotal in the Allies' victory in World War II in his work with the Codebreaking. It's probably there's that wonderful film Harrowing, The Imitation Game, where Benedict Cumberbatch did a wonderful job of portraying Alan Turing. So, and his name crops up again in technology today with the Turing test. So anyway, I'm gonna pass over. Well, I'm not. I'm gonna pass over to Kat, and then Catherine will take over with Alan's story. But Kat, let's disclaim.
Yeah, I'm gonna flag up before I even start the disclaimer. Knowing what I know about this topic, this is gonna make me really sweary, and furious. So this particular disclaimer goes for double.
Listen to this one. We mean
listen
it.
to this, because we've been fairly clean the last two
actually.
I think the chances of me getting out of this without at least once trying to drop the C-bomb is going to be slim. I'm going to do my best not to, because I know that Catherine doesn't like it.
Highly rage-inducing and very thing. So
it makes me do you know what? I was about to say something that was also a swear. I was going to say how it boils my, but I'm not going to do that yet, because we're going to do the disclaimer. So this is History After Dark, and we called it that because we do want to be able to swear when we want to be able to swear, and this is a topic that should provoke the level of rage that necessitates swearing. So if you are in an open plan office with a judgmental boss, put a headphone in. If you are somewhere with a small child who is a problem, we call this child Timmy. We've got mugs and other merch. Timmy is the sort of child that hears one depraved thing one time, one, collection of compound swear words, and carries that into school with him. And he says it in front of his teacher, who in my head is Miss Honey. Now, Miss Honey is obviously as pure as a driven. Her name is Miss Honey. So she has not watched this inveterate filth. So she does not know the first cardinal rule of History After Dark, which is, if you don't know what it means, it's not for you, don't Google it. She Googles it, and now she's in the corner of the room, weeping in a ball, unable to speak. You have to explain why your 5-year-old knows these terms, and you're now on the hook for a lot of therapy to get her upright and verbal again. No one needs it. Put a headphone in. I think it's clear what today might be, and particularly with this topic, I do not want to see any comments about how you really enjoy the history, but you don't like the swearing because it's not ladylike. There's a lot of things about that make me angry. Not here, not on the social medias. Don't do it, because if you do, I know what you're looking for. You want us to pin that comment so that people come in and humiliate you, because that's your kink. You want people to come in there and call you names. But guess what? I won't kink shame you. might. What I am going to absolutely shame is kink without consent. I will send you to my dear friend Tiffany. You can call her up, but you can also go direct to. You can go in house. You can eat in if you want at her Brighton basement. She has all manner of things, and all will be well. Whether that's a car battery, an arse gnome, nipple clamps, unusual uses for a kumquat. But with that, you pays your money and he takes your choice. She's got white, clean clothes to purchase. God bless her. Kink without consent is not okay. I really hope that you're all adults after I just said what I just said. Because if not,
even if you are an adult, it's probably a little bit.
Look,
Yeah.
either way, you can do what you want as long as it's legal. But do not. This is not going to. We're not going to prove this is a drinking game. It's never going to be a thing. This will never be medical nor legal advice. Please do not sue. Do you want? I can already feel my blood pressure rising. All right. Tell us about Alan Turing and how the nation he saved betrayed him in the most extraordinary and just vile ways.
Okay, so yes, we will come to that shortly. It is a little bit upsetting if you don't know about him. So just kind of be prepared that it is rage inducing and really quite bad. So his name, Alan Matheson Turing, was an English mathematician, computer scientist, logician, cryptoanalyst, philosopher, and theoretical. It's a bad start. Theoretical biologist. He's probably a bit less well known for his work in biology, but I'll touch on that. So he was born on the 23rd of June in 1912 in Maida Vale in London, and he sort of kind of grew up in London and the southeast. And he died, as you will see, at quite a young age, 7th of June 1954. So he was only 41. His parents were Julius Matheson Turing, who was a civil servant, and his mother was a lady called Ethel Sarah Stoney. I love the name Ethel. He had one sibling. He had an older brother. This is quite interesting, called John, who was a solicitor. That's not the bit that's interesting. He is the father of Sir John Dermot Turing, who you may have heard about. He is 12th Baronet, born in 1961, is still alive. He's a British solicitor like his dad and an author. And in 2020, he was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Order of Merit of the Republic of Poland. That's quite the mouthful, for highlighting the role of the Polish in the Enigma code, because I think that's what a lot of people don't realise, is that they'd kind of already done it. But we'll come to that. So he's still around. You can look him up. He is safe to Google. Well, as far as I'm aware, he's safe to Google. He's safe to Google, but he's a really, really interesting man. Now, he didn't have, Alan Turing, an awful lot of input from his parents as he grew up, because they were in India because of his dad being in the civil service and everything like that. So he worked for the administration of India. So he was educated at a private school from about the age of 13 called Sherborne. As well, may have also been a boarding school, but they were sort of very traditional, as in this is what you learn and this is how you do it. So he wasn't encouraged to shine and really pursue his academic interests any further than the curriculum allowed. Does this sound familiar, everyone? Never changed. Some things absolutely never change. So he took it upon himself in his spare time to exceed what was in the curriculum quite notably and study advanced modern scientific ideas like relativity, as you do, because that's what teenagers love. But he was just,
what a nerd, what a fabulous geek he was.
I mean, the guy was ridiculously unnecessarily intelligent, wasn't he? So by 1931 he got a place at King's College in Cambridge. I think it might have been a scholarship, but I didn't write that down, so I apologize if I don't remember. But to study mathematics, which seems sort of fairly obvious. He was going to go down that type of route. And then when he graduated 3 years later, did a 3-year course, he was elected as a fellow of the King's College in Oxford on the strength of his dissertation.
Blimey.
Right.
Oh.
I can't.
It's got a hard title, I bet.
It's the Gaussian error function. GUSSIAN. Okay, so I'm sorry. Just, the there. But that's all I've got for you, really. You can probably, that is safe to Google. So there we go. And so that dissertation and his work within that on probability theory. Now, some of you may remember that towards the earlier part of last year, when we did History Heroes, somehow we had about 3 in a row that were scientific, mathematically brainy stuff. And we were all telling you this, but we don't.
Get beyond our understanding.
So there is an element of this cracking up here where my brain nearly melted, but I've done my best to sort of put the basics in. You'll be pleased to hear that it gets more understandable as time and his research goes by. So probability theory, which was in the paper of that word. And I'm going to have to. Probability theory is a branch of mathematics concerned with the analysis of random phenomena. So we tend to think as mathematics as very logical, don't we? That plus that plus that, that's going to happen. All right. So generally,
speak for yourself. I don't think it's logical at all.
As mathematics is quite logical. You create these equations and things like that, and they're consistent, and you can make therefore predictions by them. You can calculate things. You can work out what's going to happen, how big something needs to be. If you add that to that, will it fall off? Very technical.
What are we talking about now?
Fall off. Just matter. You can calculate things to see
how big something's got to be. If you do that, will it fall off? What are we talking about now?
That way too much. Will it be able to support the thing underneath? Be able to support the thing on top? There would perhaps be some sort of algebraic formula that would give an indication of the maximum weight, mass, velocity, or whatever.
Who goes on top?
Doesn't exceed.
Make sure it's got a flared base. Make sure it's got a flared base, friends.
So, for example, the university where I went, the library is an upside down pyramid. So you would have to be able to calculate the ratios of things of what could be supported and where and how. So things like that. There should be a consistent way for a lot of things where you would calculate something and it would always tell you the optimal amount of weight something could be, the highest amount of weight it could be if it was to be balanced on something else.
Why didn't they just build a library? Why are they going to do an upside down triangle? See, people just try.
It won an award. There was a thing going around, and I don't know if this is true, that it was subsiding a little bit and had got a bit wonky because someone hadn't correctly accounted for the weight of the book. True. Yeah, but it's still there however many years later, and as far as I'm aware, no one's had a load of books fall on them and die. So at least somebody used a mathematical equation to work out the optimal size for a bookshelf. You see, things like that. You see, when you try to explain, I tried to make it simple and it just went wrong. So wind it back 2 minutes and just carry on from where I said. Probability theory, everybody, is a branch of mathematics concerned with the analysis of random phenomena, of which I'm afraid I can't think of any viable examples. The outcome of random mathematics the outcome of a random event cannot be determined before it occurs. So with maths, you'd think with an equation, you could put in X and Y to get Z according to the mathematical equation and the premises of mathematics within that. But apparently not always. All right. But therefore, it could be any one of several possible outcomes. If it's not definitely one thing, there's going to be more than one thing that could potentially happen. There could be many. So the actual outcome will be determined by chance. That you're going to give yourself a migraine. So the outcome will be determined by chance. And this is crucial, not just important, crucial, because it provides a framework for understanding and quantifying uncertainty. So it can help us manage how we can work out what the outcomes of something would be when it's not certain. Help. So maybe it gives uncertainty
Certainty.
It gives uncertainty a form of logic. So you think those things would be inherently contradictory, like uncertainty, can't, but apparently not. Inherently contradictory isn't quite the right word, but you wouldn't think that would happen. You'd think logic is logic, A plus B equals C, but apparently not always.
It's a good job there's people who understand this stuff, because if it was just us, you'd never be able to build a library upside down.
No,
I think I've forgotten how to think. It's what I think's happened. I think you've short-circuited whatever was going on in this hamster wheel, and now words have no meaning anymore. There you
go. His work here is done. Okay, so oh no. In 1938, he released a seminal paper called On Computational Numbers, on computable numbers with an application to the, it's German, Philippa, you do German, Entscheidungsproblem. Entscheidungsproblem. Yeah. And it was recommended for publication by the American mathematical logician Alfonso Church. Okay. And this was this is a decision problem for a class of questions in mathematics and formal logic. And so it's the problem of, once you've chosen a question, whatever that, can we build a library an upside down pyramid, for example? Probably not just that or that, but anyway, you've got a problem, you've chosen it, you need to find a solution to it. And this was the problem of finding an algorithm or a repetitive.
Yeah.
Repetitive, thank you, procedure that will give you a definite yes or no answer to the problem that didn't definitely have a for sure answer.
What magic 8 ball is this? What is happening?
So you have chosen a problem, but you're looking for an algorithm or what the word said procedure that Philippa said that I couldn't pronounce. Thank you. That will find you a yes or no answer for that problem.
It sounds like tarot.
Right.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
There's nothing existing in logic that can absolutely give you a certain answer to what the solution is, but these algorithms or repetitive procedures will give you a yes or no answer to all the possible things that you think could happen.
Okay. Could I ask a question?
No.
I'm going to
ask it, but
I'm gonna. Okay. If the answer is yes or no, does this naturally coincide / bleed into binary code of zeros and ones?
I have no idea.
Okay, me neither.
Okay, well, maybe. But if I had to say yes or no, ironically, I would probably say no, just from what I've read, because nowhere in what I've read did those words come up that I remember.
Okay.
Or coin toss. Did coin toss come up anywhere?
No, actually.
No, strange.
If the word talking about binary stuff was used, I've forgotten, probably because that part of my brain is switched off from the trauma.
Fair. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. So anyway, right.
This is a way, if you told everyone every problem required this, no one would have any problems anymore.
Can you see why I can't make decisions, everybody?
I haven't got a problem. No, you'd be like, I haven't got a problem.
You have now.
No, I don't need one. I'm fine.
I don't need this. I'm just trying to survive. Anyway, you'll be pleased to hear I've got a description of how this works. The method consists of performing successively, so along the line of, a finite number of steps. So this is what's in place, this finite number of steps, which are determined, so the steps are made from or made up from a set of pre-assigned rules. So you have these pre-assigned rules, you create some steps based on those pre-assigned rules, you follow the steps, and you will get your yes or no answer. Right.
Okay.
So Alfonso Church had also just published a paper reaching this same conclusion as Turing, although just for fun, getting to that same conclusion in a different way. So this, or using a different method. So this method, especially Turing's input, had a profound significance, not just any old significance, a profound one for the emerging science of computing. So this was getting a big thing at this point. And later in the same year, Turing went, in fact, to Princeton University. So that's quite fancy, isn't it? And he studied a PhD in mathematical logic. And he studied that under Alfonso Church. And he completed, now probably not directly underneath, although maybe there was some equation to work out whether or not that was a good idea. And he completed this in 1938.
Oh, so, ding, ding, ding.
Before it all kicks off.
So, what is Entscheidungsproblem? Apart from how you pronounce it. Okay, so mathematicians would state that an effective method of solving a problem could be done easily and simply by conducting. So they would have mathematical clerks and they would just do things, recite things, and problem solve by rote. So just repeating the same things, repeating the same steps and problems, mathematical ways till you get the answer. So do we know what learning by rote is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's safe to Google because I can't be asked to explain it. So just repetitiveness, just repeating learning until you get the idea of what to do it, how to do it, and you embed it in your brain by basically by repeating the same thing over and over. So like learning times tables by rote is just repeating them out loud. So when Turing was writing and researching, he called these workers computers, because they were computing the output of all these things just by learning and repeating these things by rote. And these human computers did some of the work that was later done by electronic computers. So these were like these people, what they were basically like the very first computers almost before they became machines.
Yeah, they call them computers. Oh gosh, what's the film about the lady? I'll find it. Okay. And they call them computers, yeah.
Hidden Figures?
Pardon?
Is it Hidden Figures?
Oh, I can't remember. I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
In America. It's based in America.
I have no
about
idea.
The NASA.
That's Hidden Figures. Yeah.
Oh, I know the lady you mean.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. But now there is a fundamental mathematical problem of being able to determine. Well, absolutely. That's what I thought when I was reading it. But to determine which mathematical statements can be proven with a given mathematical system, like algebra, for example. So this can be proved by using this equation. But as we touched upon earlier, not everything can. Okay. So the way in which this can be determined, though, you'll be delighted to hear that it doesn't matter, because they've worked out a way to find out what's going to happen for these things where you can't discover what is going to happen like you can do many other things. So the way this could be determined is called a decision method. See, this is why I can't understand it, because I can't make decisions. So decision method. So the long German unpronounceable word problem sought an effective way of solving the problem, decision making. So by 1936, Turing, who clearly knew an awful lot more than us three combined, Turing and Church demonstrated that the long German word you're going to like this after all I've just put you through. The long unpronounceable German word has no resolution. So
I need a nap. I immediately need a nap. I need to lie down in a dark room.
Even some systems based on pure logic have no effective decision method. So many mathematicians had hopes to discover a formal system of mathematics that would reduce everything down to something that human computers could consistently carry out. So if this is going to happen, we can always if we want to know anything mathematical, there's a system that we can always follow. No, me neither. After this, there is this system that we can always follow, and that will always give us the correct outcome. So this is what many mathematicians wanted. They wanted to find this system, equation, method that would always work. But the
Philosopher's Stone, they're doing mathematical alchemy.
If you like, yes. Okay.
I need something to cling on to that I recognise, because none of this makes any sense, and it's making me afraid.
If you use that, you'll always know that's going to happen.
Okay.
Like, if you give me chocolate, I will always eat it. Does that help?
Correct. Yep,
Yeah,
that helps.
There are no other possible outcomes of that situation.
There aren't.
Right. Okay, if that helps. Whereas if you gave it to my mum, she might share it. She might eat it, but she also might share it. But she also might only share it with a child. Or she might just eat it. Because in that situation, my mum would be a variable because she would do many things with her chocolate. She is the German word. I, however, would be the static thing where this always equals this, because you know what will happen if you give me chocolate. Does that help? Please say yes.
That does help, actually. Thank you very much.
Okay. Fabulous. My work here is almost done. It's not, but it gets less mind-bending momentarily. Okay. So this is what some of these, they wanted the Catherine chocolate thing, and it didn't exist. Basically, they wanted to work that out, and Turing and the other bloke whose name I've forgotten, and I can't be bothered to find it in my notes, went, okay, no, sorry, can't do that. Tough shit, basically. And so, right. They couldn't find a system that they could feed and program into a computer that would allow it to consistently work the same thing out. Not even a computer would be able to do that. So Turing analysed what it meant for a human to follow a definite method or procedure to perform a task. What would a human have to do in order to problem solve in this capacity? And it was whilst working on this problem that he invented the universal Turing machine, which you may have heard of. Now, in a nutshell, this was a machine that could decode and perform any set of instructions. It is a theoretical model of computation that provides a fundamental understanding of what it is possible to compute. I looked up how a Turing machine works. I Googled it in a number of ways, including simplified description of a Turing machine. But even when I read that, I pretty much had a stroke. It's safe, Google. So if you want to take yourself down that route, something about tapes and squares, there might have been ones and zeros, actually. Now you say that. Anyway, you're not getting it from me. And even if you did, it wouldn't make any sense. And I think Kat's about to have an aneurysm. So let's move on a little bit where things start to get slightly easier in a paragraph or so, if that helps. By incorporating all the essential features of information processing, what you would feed into a computer to get the results you wanted, the Turing machine became the basis for all subsequent digital computers. So it doesn't matter whether we understand it or not. That's a big old thing. Everything's come from that.
We don't understand what we're using, do we? We don't understand this.
And exactly. Who, if we're being honest, understands absolutely everything that they use, do, etc. And if you tell us you do, we all know you're lying. So, that's on you, really. His dissertation at Princeton also discussed the notion of relative computing.
No.
And this is where Turing machines are augmented with oracles. And these are abstract machines which are used to study decision programs that the Turing machine cannot solve. So if they found that there is something that the Turing machine can't do, they augment it with something else to try and help it solve that. Okay. What's Catherine's mum going to do with her chocolate? Don't know. She's seeing her grandchildren on Saturday. She'll probably share it with her grandchildren.
Right.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. That really is, I think, the best I can do. Anyway, fortuitously, from here, things get a little bit simpler to understand. But for the person, such as promise. So
it all gets put in an iPhone. Then we're like, yeah, we all get it.
So Turing returned to England and King's College in the summer of 1938, and he joined the GCSE, the Government Code and Cipher School. He also want to say GCSE, which was a British intelligence agency. And then obviously the war broke out the following year, and he moved to the organisation's wartime headquarters at Bletchley Park in Buckinghamshire. And you may very well have heard of Bletchley Park, and as there was a museum there, so you can go there and find out hopefully the more straightforward aspects of all of this. You can just imagine someone who volunteers there. You today are in charge of explaining how the Turing machine works. I'm afraid I'm dead and I can't come in tomorrow. Anyway, so the Enigma machine, which you've probably also heard of, is a cipher device developed and used in the early mid-20th century to protect commercial, diplomatic and military communications. And wide uses much sort of further back, several decades back than when we tend to think about it. But the Nazi... are you allowed to say that?
I don't know. Are we going to get from the
word?
People
from Germany...
I think use third right. Just use third right.
Okay, with the moustache. Right. Yeah. Okay. They used it a lot anyway. And during the Second World War, in all branches of the German military, and they considered that it was just so secure. It was like it couldn't be broken by anybody, and so they used it to encipher all their top secret stuff on for just about everything. Well, you know what happens when you get a little bit too arrogant and you think you've got the best thing and no one can do anything about it. Some fucker goes, well, you're just an arrogant twat, and absolutely not. And you get a little bit too confident and you stop paying attention to what's happening and going on around you, and you don't start to think, oh, maybe I should just have a backup plan here or whatever. So, in fact, this had first been broken in the early 1930s under the leadership of a mathematician called Marian. Now, this lady was Polish, so once again, I'm probably about to butcher her surname, for which I can only apologise. Wojcicki? So when the British received this intelligence, the Polish sort of said, look, we have this. They set up a secret code-breaking group known as Ultra, under the leadership of Alan Turing. And he led Hut 8. So Hut 8, and all these things are safe to Google, the section responsible for German naval cryptanalysis. And he developed a new machine called, now, I presume it's just pronounced...
the bomb.
Yeah, you're allowed to say that?
BOMBE.
Yeah, so it ends with an E, so that's why I didn't know if the E was silent. So anyway, and this was an advancement on the pre-Polish bomber method. So he'd just taken what they'd given him and he'd worked on it, and they had and sort of made it considerably more advanced. So they were able with this to break the Enigma messages. Again, I was going to go into how an Enigma machine works. It's a lot simpler.
I mean, to be fair, this code, the Enigma coding machine was very complex.
Yes.
Like the number of different, I can't remember how many cogs it has, but if you think about, how many lottery numbers, that the reason they have 6 lottery numbers is it makes the number of combinations vastly, makes it huge. And so they have these cogs and they change every day, don't they? So the way they set it up changes every day, and every day this machine when they're encoding the messages has to be altered to exactly the same so that people are receiving it. And there's the number of steps to decode it when you get it, number of steps to code it when you make one. Like, it is very complex.
Yeah. So you can look, I found it slightly less difficult to understand than the Turing machine, but it is, as Philippa said, quite complicated. So I decided not to sit, but yet safe to Google.
There's quite a lot of stuff online if people want to
really, really interesting. Even if you're not kind of things, but it's really, really interesting and exceptionally clever. So they were able then, once they had this, to encode these messages just on an industrial scale. And because the Germans had shared their encryption device with the Japanese, that meant Ultra was also able to help the Allied forces, also was able to decode anything to do with them as well. The Allied forces were able to decode what's going on with the Japanese. And so they were able to contribute to the victory in the Pacific. And the bomb was, it was an electromechanical machine that could find the settings for the Enigma machine. Whenever it changed, it could change and it could interpret it. So this played obviously immeasurable, if not critical, if not the main response really of allowing the Allies to defeat the Axis powers, which were the Third Reich in Germany, Kingdom of Italy, and the Empire of Japan in the Battle of the Atlantic, as well as other things. So the Battle of the Atlantic was the longest continuous naval campaign of World War II, and it basically ran pretty much the whole of the war. Basically, so it was ginormous and very significant. So this had been installed, the bomb, in 1940, and by the end of the war there were over 200 of these machines operating across the country as part of the war effort. And just as a side thing, in 1945 he was awarded an OBE for his work in the Second World War. So, but also during the war, and still in 1944, he worked on further technical innovations, including a system to encrypt and decrypt spoken telephone conversations. And this was demonstrated to work successfully with conversations with Churchill, but it was never actively put into use. And it was called Delilah, but then of course the war ended anyway. So maybe the interest, people weren't maybe putting as much emphasis on working on those sorts of things anymore. But this now, added to all his previous things, gave him experience with electronics. So now he has a whole new world of exciting things under his belts to play with. And he got a position at the National Physical Laboratory, and he worked on what was called an electronic brain, the ACE, Automatic Computing Engine, the ACE. And this is one of the first designs for what we now see as a digital computer. So as early back as literally just after the Second World War. And this, so what this did was it could store programs in its memory. Like a person could store things in their memory, this could store things in its memory. And he wrote a report in 1946, and he emphasized that this was a technological revolution and would be able to open up an unlimited range of applications and software developments. What also made it very popular at the time was that we were then ahead of where the Americans were. So if you think about things like that and the tanks and the space race, that was the big thing, wasn't it? Everyone wanted to get ahead of the Americans. So that also made it very popular, and people were sort of like, this is worth putting money to, this is worth investigating. But the relationship he had with the MPL broke down. In 1948, he was appointed to a readership at the University of Manchester, and the MPL made a prototype or pilot version of the ACE in 1950. So after he had gone, but he went to Manchester, and this is where the work really continued. So I don't think the NPL really, after that relationship term, they didn't really have, they didn't have him, so they weren't able to really continue the work. So at Manchester University, he joined Max Newman's Computing Machine Laboratory, and his main focus was now computing. And Newman was another mathematician and code breaker who had also worked in the Second World War with coding, so that's probably how they knew each other. And he had made the construction of the Colossus, the world's first operational and programmable electronic computer. So they worked together and they developed what was known as the early Manchester computers. So a lot of the basic computing things that we see today went into these computers. And this was really significant in the way that we created innovative, that there was very innovative procedures of what a machine was able to store and what it was able to do and how you could apply these things, and how people started to see that maybe computers could be seen as intelligent. So they kind of worked on this for about 30 years, 1947 to 1977. But in 1950, he published a philosophical paper, because it is surprising how much mathematics and philosophy and other social sciences do overlap. And I do think that people often don't realize, like Philippa, from doing your psychology degree, you know how they try to block research into statistically significant data. And so you use mathematical statistical analysis to determine whether or not the results of your study are actually acceptable, relevant, worthwhile, if you like, even though you're working with the human brain, which is abstract.
I think that's partly psychology trying to get into the scientific sphere. There had to be a scientific element.
Yes, and I did my second dissertation on that, but that's another story. But he was developing the investigation on the power of sorry, this is really complicated, on the power of a computer like the ones he was developing to rival human thought. So we're seeing this really, really basic idea of getting computers to match up to people. So really early, really early concept of AI, that it wasn't thought about AI obviously like that at the time. So this paper included the idea of an imitation game, which compared human outputs to machine outputs. And this became known as the Turing test, which I think a lot of people have heard of. And it was an attempt to define a standard for machine intelligence. So the premise was that if a machine could fool a person into thinking that it was a person and not another machine, then the computer could be perceived as intelligent, could be conceived as being as intelligent as a human. And his paper, Computing Machine Intelligence, he concluded that the best way, or suggested that the best way to do this would be to allow a machine to simulate, to allow the machine to begin to simulate an adult mind, is you would build a program that simulated a child's mind, and then you would educate it, talk to it, feed it information like you would a child, so that its memory, its program would be developed in the same way as a child's brain would be to become an adult. So that's what he postulated at the time, is that would be the best way to try and do that, was the thinking at the time. So I think the Turing test is probably, he's known very much for his part in the code breaking in the war, obviously, but the Turing test is possibly to be considered his most famous or well-known piece of work. And again, this was the key to what we now see as the development of artificial intelligence. Okay, so in 1951, he was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society, and he took his ability to use the Manchester computers to help them. And this is where his biological work is such a shame, because of obviously what we'll discuss in a moment, what happened to him. His biological work never really was allowed to be seen to, he wasn't able to really get very involved in it in the same way, and it's not quite so well known. But he took his ability to use these computers to try and understand patterns in nature, so things like spots on ladybirds, stripes on zebras, and Fibonacci numbers in nature, plant structures. But it is still being used, this work, for investigation today. I mean, there's been lots of stuff on Fibonacci numbers, and I'm sure many of you have come across those. Again, safe to Google. Absolutely fascinating, really, really wonderful. So yeah, but yeah, because of what happened I'm going to tell you about momentarily, that work kind of got swept under the carpet and never really got very far along. So this is the bit where we get upset and induced with rage, and it is a little bit upsetting. So, yes, Alan Turing was a homosexual man. And he chose to be, perhaps a lot of the time, a little less secretive and discreet about this as many other men. Now, you could argue that he shouldn't have to be, of course, but this was a time when obviously homosexuality was very much frowned upon. And in Britain, it was, this is crazy to me, it was still illegal until 1967. Illegal! I don't even really know what to say about that. But in 1952, he had an affair with a young man, and somehow this came to the attention of the police. And he didn't deny it. And he was convicted of gross indecency for having this private affair under Section 11 of the Criminal Law Amendment Act of 1885. Now, they gave him a choice. They said, you can go to prison or you can have some hormonal treatment. So he chose the hormonal treatment, and this now is what we would know to be chemical castration. I don't think he knew that. Anyway, because of this criminal record and this prosecution, his security clearance was revoked. And because of everything he knew, his ongoing work with the GCHQ, the Government Communication Headquarters, previously the Government Codebreaking Department, which we worked for previously, the GCCD, that work he did with them had to come to an end. He was seen as a security risk, basically. And he went and spent time in Norway and in Greece, but he was now not just defined as a security risk. The police surveillance actively followed him and harassed him and just, persecuted him, basically. And this is such a great example to me of how people are put on a pedestal. And I know this is a completely different thing, so don't come at me for this, but a recent example in England would be Gareth Southgate. Whilst the England football team was doing well, match after match in all the big tournaments, this guy was a hero. He'd done it. He'd produced this wonderful England team. It's coming home and all that nonsense, right? But then when they didn't win the tournament, he needed to be sacked. He'd failed everybody. He didn't know what he was doing. So this national treasure that that young lads were raving about and their dads were talking about down the pub, who was the best thing since sliced bread, was now a prick. We need to tear him down in the media. He's an idiot. He doesn't know what he needs to know. Gary down the pub knows more than he does about running a football team. And it's a great example of loving something, then just tearing them down in a second. And it's absolutely just disgusting. And if you do stuff like that, just fuck off. Just fuck off. We don't want you to follow us.
Was his work from the war known about at this time? Like, is it public knowledge?
The honest answer is I don't know how public it was. I can't imagine that nobody knew.
I mean, certainly the people who then struck him off
would have
security clearance would have known.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how far publicly to like the likes of the proles, but you can imagine it with your average Sun reader, can't you, if it was that type of thing? But I don't know.
The people who had the power to certainly make this go away, but also and categorically the hounding pursuit of him. And the torment that he was put through, the people who were in charge of that absolutely knew the role he played.
Yeah,
absolutely knew the level of trust he occupied, and almost certainly would have had peccadillos of their own.
Oh, for sure.
That were being covered up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those who shout the loudest, as usual.
Yes. Exactly.
Every accusation is a confession.
We think the lady doth protest too much.
Exactly.
Alan Turing died on the 7th of June 1954, age of 41. His cleaner found him the next day. He had died as a result of cyanide poisoning. And there was cyanide found on a partially eaten apple next to his bed. His mother had argued that it had been an accident. He'd been doing some sort of biological experiment and it had gone wrong. The coroner's verdict was that he had chosen to end
Of course it was.
here. But the coroner, obviously his mum, you know, they just say maybe the coroner told his mum that it was an accident to make her feel perhaps a little better than the alternative.
Well, I mean, the other alternative is that he was murdered.
I was just thinking that, but like the hounding of
the government pursuing him.
If you think about what he knew, like we only know maybe there's stuff he knew that we don't know, you know, that we don't know he knew, etc.
Sure.
So you know, the hounding of him was. I mean, they do this in the Imitation Game, don't they? And it is harrowing. And it's so unnecessary. It's like it becomes a vendetta against him.
Yeah,
it is very wicked, and it pushes him.
Like you say, who's to say that, as Kat touched upon, that he hadn't had intimate social interactions with some of the people who were then in a position to hound him, as well as the information he might have had. I mean, he obviously knew a lot about many things, and so. In 2000,
from the university he went to, the circles he moved in, it's the chances that he didn't know lots of these kind of politicians and lawmakers in their younger days, and thus everything they got up to.
Yeah. And they couldn't legitimately keep track on him and say, "Oh, you've got to keep your mouth shut." He's like, "Yeah, I know, because I'm doing this secret work." All of that had gone. So there we go.
Well, I mean, the people who worked at Bletchley Park, so many of them died without ever muttering a word about what they'd done. The idea that he was a risk,
exactly.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem, you know, plausible.
And
what a waste of a brain. 41.
In 2009, a campaign was made, and the then Prime Minister of Great Britain, Gordon Brown, made an official public apology for the way Turing was treated. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II granted him a pardon in 2013. In 2017, a law was passed in the UK that retroactively pardoned men cautioned or convicted under historical legislation that had outlawed homosexual acts. So, I mean, his legacy is huge. I mean, as much as we were like, we don't understand what that meant near the beginning. I mean, what we know enough is you know, the impact his work had in mathematics, in decoding and helping to win the war, in computing, in the advancement of AI. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's got to be unparalleled. It must be. So there's lots of things like, you know, books, TV, films, statues, all, you know, biographies, all sorts of stuff that are part of his legacy. Memorial lectures, societies, things like that. But a couple I really liked were, since 1966, the Association for Computing Machinery has given out the Turing Award, which is considered to be the Nobel Prize of the computing world. And in 2019, a BBC series took an audience vote, which named him the greatest scientist of the 20th century. On the 23rd of June 2021, to coincide with Alan Turing's birthday, his portrait began to appear on the new £50 note. Andrew Bailey, governor of the Bank of England, I don't know if he still is, but he was at the time, said he was a leading mathematician, developmental biologist, and a pioneer in the field of computer science. He was also gay and was treated appallingly as a result. By placing him on our new polymer £50 banknote, we are celebrating his achievements and the values he symbolises. And that, in a nutshell, was the wonderful Alan Turing, with the massive, 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 massive legacy obviously still used in biological research today. His work fundamental for the computers and all the systems that we use today, and fundamental for AI, which unfortunately appears to be taking over the world. But
be a plumber, everyone. Be a plumber.
Are many. Now, I don't think really there are many legacies that can top that. I'm sure there were a few, but that's a pretty big one, I'd say.
I wonder what he would have managed to achieve if he'd have lived longer and not been hounded for his last few years of life. Like, what could that man have achieved? We might not have actually liked him so much if the development of AI had come a lot earlier. But
the thing is, like you say, when somebody dies, it's very sad. Well, generally, it's very sad. You know, their family, their friends are very upset if they were doing something. They were a wonderful artist or something. You won't get any more work from them. But everything they know dies with them, and the majority of what most people know is still in here. It's nowadays, I suppose it's a bit different because more things are published. Blogs, vlogs, YouTube, Instagram, all of those types of things. So more things are recorded, but you still don't know what anybody could have achieved. And like you say, somebody like that at 41 isn't an age, is it? And there must have been so much more that he was capable of. And I think, as much as we do have concerns about AI, of course, I think the world is a poorer place for his loss.
I agree.
Emotionally, obviously scientifically, but also morally.
It's a positive that from his pardon, all of the men got pardoned, because I was about to say that if one can be, they should all have been. So I'm glad to hear they were.
I think, though, I could be wrong on this, but that did not extend to men who were convicted on the basis of the difference in age of consent.
Oh, I don't
which started off at 21 for gay men, despite being 16 for heterosexual couples, and then it moved to 18. And there were lots of men that fell foul of that.
Okay. I mean, I can't come on, I don't know, but that wouldn't surprise me. So yeah. There we go. So that was the wonderful Alan Turing. I'm sorry it was very complicated at the start. Very, very sad.
What we got from that was he was very clever. He was very fundamental to the development of computing and logical, all the stuff that has to go into programming computers.
He had a very big brain, but then everyone was horrible to him.
So horrible. That's what really upsets me. That ability for human beings to be so cruel,
wicked,
vile. Yeah, that really bothers me.
I got while I was doing it, I kind of knew that this was going to be obviously what happened at the end, but obviously initially I was having the mental breakdown of the bathy computery bits. But by the time I was doing that bit, I was furious. Well, I was getting quite upset as well. I got a bit teary. So
watching the film,
I don't think I could.
The Imitation Game. I would warn people. I think it's quite upsetting because there's not even a glimmer of a happy ending. There's no glimmer of, I suppose, because it ends when I think as far as I remember, it's been a few years since I watched it. You know, so you don't get the kind of but then later on this happened and this happened to kind of it does end with his. So what he would have known, you know, it ends where he ends, and that it's hard hitting. I found it very hard hitting.
Yeah, sure. And I think actually that's the best way to do the film, because I think that his story and the truth of his story, I don't think that audiences should necessarily be reworded without having to do any work with the redemption that happens decades later.
The relief.
I think
good point.
Yeah, because that's it would enable the forgetting or the ignoring of all of the ways that those kinds of behaviours are still incredibly enforced across the world today.
Well, it was awful, but it's all right because now this has happened.
I think we should be left. Yeah, no, I agree. I think we should be left with that uncomfortableness,
discomfort. Yeah,
discomfort. That's the word I'm looking for. Yes, yeah, we should be left with that.
Right. So there we go. I thought he was fabulous.
He is fabulous. I'm glad we get to. My daughter actually has a poster of him in her bedroom. So yeah,
that.
Yeah,
we love that. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So, Philippa, what is happening next week?
Okay, so take note, everybody, because next week we are moving to Tuesday, which is happening more and more. It's just, to keep you on your toes. So we are live. We are live because we have a guest next week. So it's the 23rd of September. Pop it in your diaries. 8:15. We are being joined by Sharon Bennett Connolly, who is introducing us, or reintroducing, if you've heard of her, to Nicola de la Haye, who was a trailblazer at the time of King John. So yeah, I think she's going to be incredibly interesting. And Sharon's lovely. So join us for that.
Yeah. We probably mentioned Nicola when we did King John in our Gits series.
Yes, so I think we did. I think she might have been his only redeeming. Yeah, his only redeeming feature. But we'll go into that, or Sharon will go into that next week.
Sharon says she's tried very hard to find something nice about King John, but she hasn't managed yet.
Her and a lot of people. Yeah.
King John Society who try and do that.
Is there one?
I don't know. I've got a feeling that there is, or if they're not an official society, there are a group of people that are trying.
Have they looked into his history?
Right, Kat, I'm going to look that up whilst you tell us all the things.
Oh, there is one, I'm pretty sure. Hello. Yes. If you want more information about us, then we have got a Substack. It's historyafterdarkhub.substack.com. Lots of information about what we're doing, about our merch. But also, if you want to listen to this as a podcast, that is the place to go. While over here, I'm going to ask you to subscribe, like, hit the bell icon, select all in the drop down, comment, interact, all of those good things. On podcasts, we need a 5-star review and also a great comment. If you are not happy,
no one cares.
Don't go there. It's okay. You don't have to tell us or anybody else. Just put nothing. That's fine. Positive vibes only. Also, if you do like what you've seen, then you can tell us with money. This makes Catherine uncomfortable when I say this. You can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/hadpodcast. And that's where you can purchase Winnebagos, but also you can join our close friends over on Instagram. That is where the little circle around the icon at the top is green. And that's a place where Catherine finds depraved stuff. And she shares it. It's like being in our group chat. It's a good time. Additionally, make sure you are following us over on the Instagram, because YouTube doesn't always tell you. Even if you've asked them to, it doesn't always. But we do post on Instagram. Also, linked in the description box are our own personal social medias. You can follow us there too. Is there anything more? Any more for any more?
I've noticed with close friends, Catherine used to check whether we thought it was okay to post something, and now I think everything, there was no net.
Okay,
everything got through. No. So now she just posted
it up.
Yeah.
Just a quick one.
I don't think we ever stopped her, so she's gone. No, she's gone rogue now.
I think there's one or two where I did go, would this be pushing it? And you're like, maybe, like really bad.
I don't think we stopped. I can't.
That was that was months ago. Now you've just gone. I don't need to ask them. And to be fair, you don't, because we're now a hive mind.
Yeah, if you're in, you're in. I don't know what to tell you.
It's always like all these memes and stuff that are coming out about group chats with 3 people in. So look out for those. They tend to apply to us, to be fair. Quick one, if you go on Facebook, you can join or follow the King John Appreciation Society. I would imagine that wouldn't take up much of your time.
Not the appreciation bit. You can talk about
it.
it.
To appreciate, so it's probably just like a page. I don't know. That's terrible. If you are a member of or the founder of the King John Appreciation Society, I haven't down-looked, so I really shouldn't be commenting.
But we just did.
Last
So
post
on that note,
the last post was in 2017.
Was that also the first post?
No,
the only one.
No.
Oh.
No, it's a page. It's a page.
We might have to go
2015.
I'm intrigued, actually.
2014. I'm scrolling, babe. I'm scrolling.
People think. Actually, I went to see a talk by Sharon recently, and she does say that some people that she comes across think that King John is responsible for Magna Carta. So they think there's something good in him there, not realizing how Magna Carta came about and not realizing that he basically had it annulled within 2 seconds.
For it, in the sense, if he hadn't been such a bellend, then
but they think he's but they think he's responsible for it, as in
yes.
Which of course,
Catherine, you follow the society, I see.
Do I?
Yeah, you've just followed them.
Well, if anything exciting happens, you will be the first to know. I wouldn't hold your breath. Julian did a thing, didn't he, at Southwark Cathedral, where loads of historians went down and they all had to make a case for who was their favourite monarch.
That's because he's a contrarian. That's because he loved.
Yeah, he got King John. So yeah. So if you ever want to try and hear some good things about King John, then Julian has somehow used his grasp of rhetoric to try and convince us
to make a case for him.
All bad.
There we are.
All bad.
Okay, girls.
Right. Well, everyone, be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. And if you can't be careful, do not get caught. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye.